PlayStation Drive is starting. While you wait, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon on YouTube to be notified of future goodness. If you enjoy our show, we'd love it if you gave us a 5-star review or rating on your podcast service of choice. To continue the conversation, join the Carpool Gaming Discord, where you can find a wholesome community to have a chit-chat with. For some exclusive content, you can also support us on Patreon. And finally, don't forget to check out the Carpool Gaming website for an awesome range of merch. Links to all that and more are in the show notes, but without further ado, let's get revved up for the PlayStation Drive. Whoa!
What's up, everybody? Welcome on in. This is the PlayStation Drive, episode 147. Only 3 more episodes until episode 150. I am one of your hosts, Ryan, and I'm joined by a smaller crew tonight. I'm joined by Matt and Ron. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Doing good? Doing good?
I'm sick again. The kids brought back the germs. Ron's laughing because it's like
the 50th time this year.
This, honestly, it's been like nonstop since my youngest went to daycare, so it's back. Coughing. One of my kids got like some things coming out of his eye. I think it's normal. I hope so. I hope it's normal. Yeah.
I was going to say, that's probably not what you want.
No. So it's been a fun weekend with some sick kids in the home, but otherwise, I'm alive.
That's right. That's right.
The main
above
thing.
Above ground.
Yeah, exactly. But as Jan32 points out in the chat, no koala. It is just moose, bear, and squirrel this evening. Yep.
She's here in spirit. I have her pinned on just for her.
Well, I mean, she added enough to the notes. She is definitely going to, make her presence felt in the show tonight. But Fulia is actually going to be off for the next couple weeks. So it's going to be the boys week this week and next week. It's exciting. So
excellent.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I miss Philly a little bit already. So.
Yeah. It's going to be all right. This one more show after this one.
Someone else needs to get a Pepsi can and put in the background there, since Philly isn't here to carry the torch a little bit.
It's going to have to be Matt. He has the shells.
I don't drink that much Pepsi. It's always Coke Zero. That's the problem. That's the thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess I can switch.
Put wild cherry Pepsi back there. It's still Pepsi.
I was just going to say, I was about to call you a monster, but then I heard Coke Zero instead of Diet Coke, so I was like, I can let that slide a little bit.
No Diet Coke. It tastes like medicine. No, Coke Zero.
Diet Coke's not great. Coke Zero is all right, though.
Yeah, at least Diet Coke has one thing going for it. At least it's better than Diet Pepsi. That's the main thing. I think we can all agree on that.
I can't disagree with that. Yeah.
I mean, Diet Pepsi is probably one of the worst beverages I've ever tasted in my life.
The only Pepsi that's worth drinking is wild cherry Pepsi. That's it, Matt. Don't bother with the others.
That's the only one? Yep. Is there like a Pepsi Zero?
Probably.
There is.
More than likely.
Yeah, it's not called Pepsi Zero. It's called something else. But yeah, they have the same thing. Although I will say, also, you're on the right idea, Ron, with cherry flavored pops, because my favorite pop ever, and I love the fact that I'm saying pop and you're just like, what the heck are you talking about?
No, I know what you're talking about. Some people still call it that here.
Okay. Well, I love cherry Coke because I'm living in Texas. That was like a staple there, and I'm glad it's like everywhere else now. So back when I actually used to drink caffeinated products, cherry Coke used to be my favorite. It used to be so good.
Cherry Coke is great.
Yeah.
No disagreement on that one.
Yeah. It was up there with Dr. Pepper as like one of my favorites. I love Dr. Pepper as well.
Yes, you're on a roll.
Yeah, exactly. Again, that's just the Texas part of me, because I've been to like the Dr. Pepper factory so many times in Waco, because that's totally a thing. Great. Yeah. Anyways, this is the PlayStation Drive, not the soda drive.
The soda drive.
So we should probably get into talking about PlayStation. So let's grab our 8 tracks, pop them in. It's time for the playlist, because it's time to talk about all the stuff we played. Now, I'm going to get Fulia's out of the way first, because she left instructions for us as to what she's been playing.
Lengthy instructions.
Including a video reference. So first off, Fulia says, I've been playing Ayuden Chronicles Rising, Dave the Diver, and Snacko, which is this game here that she was playing on her channel. It looks like this like cute little farming game. Let's see if we can skip past the basics of farming here to actually get to some actual gameplay. It's buffering. For all the audio listeners, the buffering is happening right now on the YouTube video.
Are there any snacks? I mean, it was called Snacko. Where are the snacks at?
I don't exactly know. So you're playing this little cute blue cat.
It's just a cute cat game to me when I was watching the video, and they're very expressive. Like
Yeah.
their facial animations, like it's cute.
Yeah.
It's cute, but you're right. There's no
there's
snacks
snacks.
unless you. I mean, you're gonna get some water turnips later after you.
I don't want any
Grow
water
them.
turnips.
I mean,
this
to
is false
someone,
advertisement.
to someone,
What about
water
some-
turnips is probably a snack. I don't
You know what?
Yeah.
Koala chose this
Come
to
on,
troll me. She's trolling me
No.
even off the show.
There's some plant turnips too, if you want.
Oh my god.
No veggies right now, unless it's broccoli.
Yeah. Now this looks like an early access demo, according to the video as well. Again, we're watching it on Fulia's channel at the moment. Yeah, so there you go. That's what Fulia's been playing. You know, playing this Snacko game and playing some of these other games. So there you go. So we didn't miss out on what Fulia's been playing. So now, as always, we always start with Ron. So Ron, what'd you be playing then?
Thank you, friends. So still working my way through not Bravely Default. Octopath Traveler. I am 15 hours and some change in. Finally wrapped up a 4th character story on the chapter for that one. And so I'm plugging my way through, working my way to another town to get another character and continue on. Still enjoying it. I can see where some people are talking about the grind starts to wear them down because you get a brand new character and your other characters are level 15 and that one's level 1.
Yep.
And the area in says, oh, maybe you should sit there and be level 9. I'm just like, well, that's great.
Yep.
But it's not enough to sit here and steer me away. It doesn't take much time to level them up, but
Well, I was just
I
gonna
could
say,
see-
once they're finally all in your party, then that settles down a little bit.
good. But yeah, it's not enough to sit here and scare me away from it. I'm still having a good time with it. Enjoying the music, enjoying the combat. So yeah, it's going to be a long one though. I can tell that, but it'll be fine.
Well, it's like a 40 to 50 hour game, I think. So it's
Yeah,
like
that's not
not
bad,
it's long, but it's not super long.
But I don't know, Ryan. I have a bad habit of games that are supposed to be certain hours. Usually it takes about extra 30 or 40 because I get distracted.
Well, I mean, it took Kevin Ainsworth, I think, like 25 hours to beat it. So
Kevin's the wizard.
No, it didn't. What? 25 hours?
Why are
I'm
you
actually kidding. I don't
surprised?
actually know how long it took him.
It probably took 10. We're probably even 25 might even be too much.
How is that possible? Jeez.
That's what Kevin does, man.
Yep.
But aside
I
from
don't know how he does
that,
it.
that's it. Anime, I'm still watching Freerun, really enjoying that. Had a long conversation with Seth about that the other night. Fantastic anime. Loving that. But that's it for playing.
Nice. Matt, how about you? What have you been playing?
Played a little bit more of Veil Shadow of the Crown, which is the upcoming Backtrackers game. I think we're meeting in 2 or 3 weeks. It's a game that's meant for people who are visually impaired, so there's nothing to see. It's all based on sound. The game's getting a bit harder. I'm not gonna lie. I've encountered multiple enemies, so now there's like 3 or 4 people coming at you. So like you really, really have to close your eyes and like get immersed to figure out where they're coming. Because I've tried just swinging at everything, and it doesn't work. Like I'll hit one of them, but then 2 of them will smack me around. So I've died quite a bit. It's getting pretty rough, and you know I brought my Switch to when I was getting my tire swapped. So I was playing there with my headphones, thought it was gonna work, and I was like, you know what? Nope. I'll just close my eyes. I don't care how foolish I look like in the waiting lounge. I'm gonna do this, and I didn't. I couldn't get past that one part. So take
Was
a little
there
break. from it.
anybody else in the lounge with you?
Well, I had my eyes closed, so not 100% sure.
There could have
And,
been.
yeah, and I had headphones on, so I couldn't hear anything either.
That's great.
So, yeah, you know what? That's just how middle-aged men play their video games now.
Look, sometimes you
immersion.
have to take extreme measures to finish your games, and that's just how you have to do it. Man.
Oh man.
Yeah, I tried my best, but yeah, I got a little bit stuck. So take a little bit break, but I'll try again. It's because you know, the voice acting is really good, the sound design, so it's there. It's just it's harder than I expected. Still plugging away at Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I think I'm at chapter 9, so I just entered the jungle, but then a nagging part of me was like, I feel like I missed some mini games at the Gold Saucer.
That
And
can't
lo and
happen.
behold,
You can't miss the
I-
mini
I'm about to
games.
say, if you're going for that platinum, you got to go back.
Lo and behold, I walked back to a certain part, fast traveled, more mini games for me to enjoy and endure. Like there's a lot of chocobo races.
Enjoy.
A lot.
Mm.
Yeah, this is a lot. Like if you like Mario Kart, the chocobo racing is not bad, but I hear there's a lot of them, so I'll get through it. I'll get through it. And then I did finally go back and beat the summon that was whipping my butt a few weeks ago. So I
Yeah.
finally did it.
Congrats.
Beat him on
congrats.
full might. Thank you,
Nice.
thank you. And looks like I just needed better weapons and didn't have to punish myself a few weeks ago. Because yeah, I just came back. I used pretty much the same strategy, but I just had better weapons and maybe leveled up a little bit in terms of like folios, like which is like like level skills and buffs, not buffs, but like certain skills that each character has. But enjoying it so far. I think I'm around 67 hours. Still enjoying
Okay.
it. Still enjoying it. Oh,
Nice.
question. Problem to press pool.
Friend. I also saw on the doc that you were playing Redfall and Suicide Squad. Please talk about those as well.
I do not. So first and foremost, I've made a commitment. I am not buying new games. Although I could play Redfall technically because it's on Game Pass. Hashtag loophole. But I'm not playing that right now because then I'd be really sidetracked.
Are you
from
sure?
Final
It was on the
Fantasy
doc. It was on the doc.
I'm certain. I don't know who's typing in that doc for me, but it certainly
I
wasn't the
wonder
squirrel.
who. I wonder who that could be. It could be anyone.
Yeah, anybody who has access to it.
It could
Could've
even
been-
be
could've
a
been
certain
Fuya.
person that decided to ask you about it on a podcast.
Yeah.
Could be. Could be.
Matt, it's
But
a
hey,
safe place. It's a safe place. If you want to talk about Redfall and Suicide Squad, it's okay. It's all right.
Ron, if this is your way for us to play Redfall and Suicide Squad, you just have to ask. You don't have to put it in the notes, right?
I was gonna say
Like,
I've
we can just
talked
hook up.
about Suicide Squad on the show before because
No,
I
no,
played
Fred.
that game.
Yeah.
I'll play Fallout 76 with you before I play those.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
And you know how I feel about that.
Damn.
Fallout 76 is a fine game. What the heck are you guys talking
yeah,
about?
no, I'm okay. Thanks. That's all right.
I mean,
Not
it's,
a crank
it's,
to-
it's good now.
Multi-pass.
It's good.
Nope.
Good.
I heard it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it
And no.
actually, you know what? I went back to it recently, and it's actually not that bad.
Matt, I heard Death Stranding is great too. So
It's fantastic. It's
It's not.
fantastic.
I
Are there
still have to play that
are
game.
there You haven't played Death Stranding? It's fantastic.
No, it's
Come on.
actually like at the beginning of the year, I put out a list of 10 games I want to beat before the end of the year, and Death Stranding's on that list. So like I do want to play it this year, but I just haven't yet. I haven't had time.
sometimes you need to go with your feelings, Ryan, and I think maybe you should just.
No, I'm
forget
gonna
about
play it at some point. It's on the list. It's gonna happen.
It's happening. Did
Yeah.
you Ryan, did you like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom?
I haven't played Tears of the Kingdom at all. It's still in the shrink wrap. But
Breath of the Wild?
Breath of the Wild, I thought it was okay.
Oh, you might not like Death Stranding then.
Doesn't matter. I'm gonna play it anyways because it's.
Yeah,
good.
No matter
give it a
what.
try.
I've already committed.
Committed.
I've committed.
You're committed.
And,
All right.
and you
I
know
hope you
what?
like it.
If I don't like it, then I don't have to. I don't have to finish it because you know what? I made the rules, so I can choose to bow out if I want to.
You can. I like it.
Nice. Well, those are some good games, Matt. I'm glad that that mini games never end in Final Fantasy VII because I think that's all you'll be talking about for the next like 4 or 5 weeks at this point. More mini.
Apparently.
games. Yeah.
Apparently.
Well, that's for me. I played some stuff this week, so to kind of follow up from last week's show, because I talked about Alone in the Dark 2024 a lot on last week's show about how I, was having some problems with it, where some bugs were really hindering that experience, where I kept getting stuck in the environment. After the show last week, I went back and tried to play it again, tried to play more. And between that play session and then a play session the following morning, I got stuck in the wall at least 10 more times. So I'm just like, nope, that's it. I took y'all's advice and just said, forget it. This game is going on the shelf until there's a patch. Which, funny enough, the same day I announced that I'm putting it on the shelf, they released a new patch to squash bugs. I don't care at this point. I'm gonna wait for at least another patch or two before I go back to it. Because like I said before, like I really enjoyed that game, and it sucks that that enjoyment was ruined by bugs and glitches. So I do want to give it that second chance when it's been fixed, but I want to wait at least a couple more patches before that happens, because I don't want to jump into it again, play through it for another 5 hour or a couple hours, and then run into the same problem again. So I want to be absolutely sure that we're good before we're hopping back in. Yon32 says I need a wheel. I don't need a wheel at this point. I don't think
No, Beyond 32. No wheels here. We
I-
don't
I-
do that
Wait
here,
a
Brian.
minute. Stop this anti-will stuff, Matt.
I'm not.
The cult welcomes everybody.
I mean, I'm not even being anti-wheel at the moment. I'm just saying that I'm currently not in the position where I need the wheel yet to justify. If I felt like I needed the wheel, I would be the first person saying I would to join the cult with you. But In fact, I'm gonna just present this real quick. I'm going to share my screen here because for reference, here's the tweet I was mentioning where these are the 10 games I'm going to play for the very first time this year. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Metroid Other M, Fatal Frame, Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, Clock Tower 3, Psychonauts, The Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds, Dot Hack Infection, Sea of Stars, Magic Knight Rareath, and Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword. So there you go.
Dot Hack. I'm gonna be interested to see what you think of that one.
Yeah. I love MMOs, so I really want to play it at some point. But anyways, Alone in the Dark 2024 on the shelf at this point. But of course, I wanted to invoke my inner Fulia this week by playing Top Spin 2K25, baby. It's tennis. It's got tennis players other than Anna Kay in it. It's fun. I actually had a lot of fun hopping into Top Spin, and this is a game I think for a while that's going to be kind of my palate cleanser game where I play maybe for an hour or two in between, other stuff or in between other play sessions, or just when I feel like I just need something else that's not Final Fantasy 14 or whatever game I'm playing. That's usually the realm where sports games usually sit for me. And I think this is going to be that game for a while. What's interesting that about this game that separates it from other tennis games is that as the tennis ball is coming towards your player character, there's like a little meter that appears above you, kind of like similar to other 2K sports games where you kind of have to like time your shot in the meter in order to hit the ball really, really well. So it's really kind of learning that system and how to properly aim the ball and how to line up your shots properly, which is where like the learning curve is a little bit. So there's definitely a learning curve if you have only really played stuff like Mario Tennis or Virtua Tennis or other like more arcadey tennis games. But I think it seems like a pretty solid tennis game so far. I haven't jumped into the career yet. I do want to do that at some point. But just playing a bunch of matches, like I had a lot of fun with Top Spin. And of course, Top Spin's an old franchise. That goes all the way back to the original Xbox days because that was once a Microsoft first party property was Top Spin. And it was part of the XSN sports line because that was during the period of Xbox Live where Microsoft wasn't allowing EA sports games to be, have online play because Microsoft wanted to push their own sports games like NFL Fever or some of these other games. And they failed spectacularly. Top Spin was like the only good one. So, of course, then they allowed EA games to start to go online a little bit. But I gotta say, Top Spin 2K25, I'm excited to spend more time with it. But again, it's going to be in between a lot of other games coming out. Also on Friday, the Fallout 4 patch came out, so I decided to hop in for a couple hours with Fallout 4, and honestly, I got sucked in pretty quickly. Like Fallout 4 is pretty fun. It's a game that I don't have a lot of great memories looking back on because of some stuff that happens later in the game that I just wasn't a big fan of, especially because I don't like the base building or the construction and the crafting stuff. And when the game forces that on you at certain points, it just really took me out of it when I played it back in 2015 or 2016, I think is when it came out. So I think Fallout 4 is a game that I'm like really excited to revisit at some point because I do think this brand new patch for it is pretty awesome so far. Like you've got some up-res visuals, but then you've also got the game running at 60 frames per second on PlayStation 5, and it seemed really smooth from what I played, even when I was fighting like a whole pack of mole rats, while also there was a death claw in the distance. Like the power of the PS5 was on point with this game. So I think the main thing is though, people hopping into Fallout 4 for the first time, I think they're in for a treat with this brand new update. So I'm glad to see that that's finally out there after it being promised like 2 years ago, or because they announced that this patch was coming out when they announced the Series X. Like a week after they announced the Series X, they announced this patch was coming for it. So we've been waiting since that long for this patch to come out, and it's finally out. So I'm glad, Sarah, and I'm glad Fallout fans that are jumping in because of the show have something to jump into besides 76 that feels new. Like that, I think Fallout 4 is probably going to grab more people than 76 probably is. Even though 76 I think is actually good now. I think it's actually good. But
are there NPCs in Fallout 76 now?
There sure are. There's a lot of NPCs in Fallout 76. There's like quest lines. You go to other regions. Like there's a lot of stuff they've added to 76 to where
It sounds really good.
It could be pretty good. Yeah.
Man,
I
you
know.
don't have time. You got to finish Rebirth.
Come on, we can play it. Oh, you can't do crossplay, right?
No, you can't do crossplay.
Oh,
Because I saw Fully and Sean were playing together, and I was like, I'd love to play with y'all, but you're playing on PC, and it makes me sad.
I was gonna say I can play in Game Pass, but then who am I playing with then?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have Game Pass
on
on my
PC.
Series X, so I'm sorry. Sorry.
Oh, that's the only reason why you're not gonna play with me. Is that it?
Oops.
Well,
I'll hook you up with a free trial of Game Pass, Ron. Okay, then we can play together.
I mean, it's also on
not
PlayStation
coming
Plus, so
through. What?
we could just play on PlayStation. We could be PlayStation bros.
No, but that's gonna break my rule unless it's on PS Plus.
It is on PS Plus. It's on Extra.
Win. Okay, now we can play together.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, Ron. We can
PlayStation
play
Drive
together.
Crew.
Yeah.
Let's go, Ron. Ron, you can hear me.
Yeah. I mean, now we have to get Fluid on this too.
Let's go.
That's gonna be a task.
Yeah. Well, Matt, there's one other game I've been playing that I hopped into for the first time this week that Ron, I'm sure, is chomping at the bit for me to talk about. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm playing it. Yeah. I'm playing it.
Let's go.
It's not a bad game, actually. I'm not gonna lie. I watched the whole Let's Play of it. I have some issues, but we'll talk about that once y'all finish the game.
Okay. So, first off, I'm on chapter 4 because I'm kind of like, as I'm going, I'm clearing out all the regions that I'm in because I'm having so much fun with this game. I'm totally hooked in on this game. It's seemed to be real hard at this point. And I was not expecting this because, I was really down on Rebirth. Ron, you and I talked about it before Rebirth came out. That's the main reason I waited to play this game. I didn't need to play it right away because I didn't like Remake, because I didn't like a lot of the changes they made, and I didn't love, the filler story and stuff like that. But Rebirth, from what I've played so far, and maybe it'll go in some weird direction later, but from what I've played so far, is the game that I wanted Remake to be. It's what I really envisioned in my brain when Square Enix first told us they were remaking Final Fantasy VII in the first place. Yes, I do think that some of the open world stuff can feel like filler, especially some of the smaller storylines, with the small gang from, the one street that you run into. I some of that stuff is, fine, but it kind of feels like filler. But for the most part, the main campaign feels awesome. I love what they've done in the story. It really feels like the Resident Evil 4 treatment was applied to this, where it feels like you're playing the same story, but with enough tweaks and stuff and little things to make it interesting, which is exactly what I wanted in the first place. So if only they did this with Remake, I would have liked it more, and then I wouldn't have been so down on this. Which is why I'm so glad that I decided to give this a chance at some point, because I actually really like this game a lot, and it's now making me wish that Square Enix maybe would have done 2 games instead of 3, where they just instead of maybe maybe they could have trimmed down on some of the mini games here. I know, Matt, I know you're loving some of the mini games, but maybe they could have trimmed down on some of them and gave us the Midgar part of, and maybe have it be the first 5 hours or so of this game, and just have that both of those be just Rebirth, and basically just it all just being the first disc of Final Fantasy VII, and then the second game would be discs 2 and 3, essentially. That's what I would have loved to see. But the fact that they had to stretch it out, I think that's why I didn't like Remake so much. So I'm really, really enjoying this. I can't wait to jump in more. In fact, I'm going to play more tonight as soon as we're done the podcast tonight, and I'm excited to talk about the story more after it's over. But Matt has a question.
I gotta ask, because you're an OG fan, and I'm not, so I'm not getting the nostalgia hits. What is it like for you as an OG fan to be getting the music, the open world? Are you getting the feels?
Oh yeah, 100%. That first scene where you leave Calm and you go into the open world, and then the beautifully orchestrated version of the Final Fantasy overworld theme played as the characters are looking around this grassy field, and you see in the distance little points of interest that you see on the original map in the PlayStation 1 version. I'm just dude, this game gets me. It just went straight to the heart. When that happened, or as well, just certain other moments in the story really hit me in the feels as well. The Nibelheim flashback, we talked about it when we played the demo, but I got all the nostalgic feels from that too, because it is so much, with the exception of a couple of small tweaks, like a 1-for-1 retelling of that flashback, including some incredible music and visuals. So like, yeah, it's really hitting me in the nostalgic feels, like crossing the swamp and then fighting the Midgard serpent and stuff. Like, oh yes. Oh, it was so cool. So yeah.
Ron.
They did a lot of things. They did a lot of things right with this. Like I was having a conversation with Marcus O'Neill. There were several times I told him, if this had been remake, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. I almost ended up buying Rebirth because it was so improved. But then some stuff happens later.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which we'll get to.
Talk about it.
But that's to be expected at this point. I know that they forewarned us that was going to happen, but they also were true to their word, because they told us ahead of time that this was going to be a much more literal remake of the original, but with some.
And they did a great job with it for the most part.
Yeah. So and that's all I wanted. So I mean, yes, there might be some problematic stuff later that I might not love, but I still think that even with that, I'll probably walk away from this experience like really, really happy with what we got. So yeah. I know, Matt, you and I will talk about it more as it goes, and then Ron, maybe the three of us talk about it when it's all over in like more spoilery sense.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But I definitely like Matt, I kind of want to take my time with it too, because I mean, I'm really exploring the open world stuff, so I'm going around and I want to complete every zone at this point. So it's going to take me a while to probably finish this too. But we'll have to see it. We'll have a race, Matt, to see who can finish this first.
We already know who's winning that race. It's not me.
Well, I mean, Ron already won the race at this point.
Well, a Let's Play doesn't count because they skipped over a lot of the fluff. The important side missions they stuck with, but yeah, the collecting stuff and everything. They kind of just fast forward to the end product and show you the end of the storyline for that mission and everything like that.
But dude, I got the nostalgic chills when you're doing some of the open world stuff, and you go to like the live stream pockets that you find, and it plays like that theme from the observatory in Cosmo Canyon, and I'm just like, oh my god,
they keep those parts in. So the important parts, it's like they knew for the Let's Play. Let's show the parts that matter and not the parts of let me go around collecting these parts. So they did a good job with it.
Yeah. Also, Matt, the music is so good. I'm really now eyeing that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth concert that's happening in September, and I'm like, I really think I need to go to that. So
you're killing me. I'm very tempted. The music is S tier, and I'm not even like a big fan, but even I'm like, it's engrossing. The music, it really is.
Yeah. Anyways, we should probably shift into our topic of the week. So today's topic of the week is games we gave another chance to. Games that, like Ron with Final Fantasy VII, games that we, didn't really love at first, but maybe gave them a second chance. And maybe we're like, you know what? These games aren't so bad. So we're going to talk about some of those tonight. Now, before we get to some of ours, I want to go through Fulia's, because Fulia left, her games that she gave her second chances to, and she wanted us to read these on the show. So we're going to start with Fulia, who says, not going to lie, the one game that comes to mind for me is Mario Kart. And not even a specific edition of Mario Kart, but just Mario Kart in general. I had originally played Mario Kart in the N64 days, and I hated it because I was always playing against my cousins who owned the console and were able to play much more often than I could. I also didn't like to lose, but was always last in the races against them. I didn't touch a single Mario Kart game until I found Bobby on Twitch, and he ran some community Mario Kart sessions. I thought, well, I guess I'm buying Mario Kart 8 Deluxe if I want to play with everyone in the community. So I started learning how to play and jumped into some of his community sessions. I then played pretty consistently on my Twitch community and almost weekly for a couple of years, and I love it now. I also have to say, though, and this might be a hot take, but I'm really not vibing with God of War 2018, so it's been shelved for now. I might end up going back to it down the track for me. I've put it away, quickly sneaks away before the koala is judge. Look at that, Ron.
Too late.
Yeah.
Too late. The judgment
got the
started a long time ago.
I'm not gonna judge her though. I kind of had a feeling with the kind of games she plays. I kind of had a feeling that was going to happen with God of War, but at least she tried. So I can't be mad at her. Yeah.
Yeah. So good. That's a good story. Like that Mario Kart's not ever one I would have thought of, but like I could see that from the perspective of the kids who used to come over to my house all the time and try and play like Street Fighter 2 against me or something like that and get like their butts handed to them because they didn't have the game, whereas I was like very good at fighting games at that point in my life. So I could definitely understand it where if you're always losing all the time, like how that could be frustrating and maybe just make you not play like a game as much. So
It's not fun. It's not fun at all. I remember one of my best friend, like he played. I mean, I think he didn't go professional, but he played a lot of third strikes. Like, do you want to play together? And I'm like, no. There's no point. Like, it's just. He's like, I'll use this character. I'm like, still, there's no point. Like, there's literally no point in doing this at all. It's just not fun. He's like, come on, don't you want to get into it? Not with you. Like, yeah. So I know what he's talking about. Like, it's not fun, but it's nice to hear that somehow she did get back into it. It's nice. It's nice to hear that.
I'm actually surprised she took the chance on the whim to go out and buy Mario Kart because of Bobby. But of course, I remember his streams were just so welcoming and friendly that I think that probably played into it a little bit. But
for sure.
Yeah. But anyways, let's go around the horn and talk about some of the games that we gave second chances to. Again, we didn't come up with like an arbitrary number of these or anything like that. We'll do some of these. So Ron, we'll start with you. Tell us about Red Dead Redemption 2 and how you gave it no, I'm just kidding.
Boy.
What? Come on, cohesion, Ron. We both
No.
Yeah,
I
cohesion.
don't hate Red Dead 2. But you already know where I stand with that. All the survival and the management stuff ruins it. I don't care about all the make sure I smoke to keep my red eye and my skins might go bad if I don't get back to camp. Come on. Give me what I did in the first Red Dead and let's roll.
Ron's right, I'm sorry. I really am.
But moving past
I agree.
Yeah, moving past that. My first one's going to be Elden Ring. Like I said, that was my first Souls game. One of my best friends had got it as a birthday gift, so I had no choice but to kind of go ahead and take a chance with it. And at first, it was going fine. I was going slow with it. Had my good sword and shield build, so I'm like, okay, this is all right so far. I know what to do. Take it slow, Everything was going great until I ran into that damn Margit, the Fell Omen. Oh my god. He probably whooped my ass like 20, 30 times. And I just got so frustrated that I immediately just stopped, closed the app, uninstalled it.
He's like, I'm good. I'm out.
Yeah, I was
too.
done. I was done
Wow.
with it. My friend Curtis was like, man, you got to get back in there. Trust me, this is the way Souls games are when you're new to them. Just get back in there. Be patient. He said, just go somewhere else, level up a little bit, fight some enemies, and go back. I was like, nah, man, forget that. I'm not playing this crap. This isn't for me. But after a while, I kind of started getting the feeling. I was like, you know what? I hate to just quit a game. So I was just like, let me give this one more chance. So I went ahead and took his advice. I sat there and went around the area, killing some enemies and stuff, leveling up a little bit. I got to the point where I was like, okay, let me get back in here. And sure enough, I want to say maybe about like 5-6 tries later, I just stayed patient, sit there and just paid attention to the boss, the way he moved and stuff, and then I beat him. And I was just like, you know what? Okay. All right, I'm starting to see why people enjoy this, and then I just kept on rolling. And of course, eventually, got to Platinum and beat Melania, and just ended up falling in love with the game. It became one of my goats, so shout out to Curtis for talking me back into it, because if it hadn't been for him, I think I probably would have never gone back.
Nice. Yeah. Like that Souls games haven't really been my jam, but like Elden Ring, there was something special about that game.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool. And it's like, I can definitely, like, you describing that was kind of like how I felt with like something like Dark Souls 3, where, a specific boss, like handed it to me, and then I put it down, and then I went back and actually really enjoyed it. But it definitely didn't make my list tonight, but like I think that's a really good example. I could feel your story in my brain, Ron, because I felt like everyone's had that happen to them.
In other Souls games, can you go off and level up and then come back, or is that specific to Elden Ring only, to level up somewhere else and come back?
So yes and no. There are some bosses in some of the Dark Souls games where you really can't go backwards at all unless you die, and then you want to maybe level up from there. But for the most part, yes, you can, because they are non-linear games. So even though Elden Ring's the only one that's really like a truly open world game, The other ones, you can do them in any order you really want to. And in fact, that's part of the learning process of playing the Souls games, especially something like Dark Souls, the original, where like you can just, mess around in this one area to kind of just kill enemies and level up, and you reset the enemies when you go back to the camp. So you can do that in a lot of the games.
Multi-pass.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
It's just a lot easier to do in something like Elden Ring because it is open world. But yeah,
Still too soft for that game.
I think you
Multi-pass.
could do it, man. I think you could do it.
Yeah.
Now that I'll
Yeah.
play co-op with you. We can do that together.
you could be
Power of
carry
friendship.
me.
I'll carry you
You can
through
carry
it.
me.
I have that much confidence in my build that I think I can carry you through that.
Will I get a platinum if you carry me?
I think so. I think you can play the whole game with co-op. I think.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
It doesn't like take the platinum away from you if you play co-op.
Yeah. Malenia might take me a little bit more time. But
I'll
I can
heal
get you
you.
through everything
Don't worry.
else. She's tough as nails.
I'll watch from the distance. Don't worry.
Well,
I'll
no.
heal.
You get Matt.
I'll
like,
evade.
I was gonna say you get Matt with like the range like spell casting kind of setup, and then Ron goes in there for the kill with his build.
Yeah.
All right. I'll think about it. If it comes to PS Plus or Game Pass.
That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fair. That's
There you
fair.
go.
I don't think it's ever coming to one of those. It's
I
selling
don't think so
well.
either, right?
Yeah.
That game's made too much money. It's sold way too much.
No, and From Software generally doesn't put their games on a lot.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know if I've ever seen a
Oh, that's
FromSoft game on
true.
there. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
they
right.
usually
Yeah,
do
that's
that.
true.
Yeah, at least not in these days, because like From Software now is like a premium company, whereas back in the day when they were making like Chrome Hounds and Ninja Blade and stuff like that, like those were the days where like they were definitely less prestigious, so you would have seen some other stuff. on
Lord, I forgot about
Pass.
Chrome Hounds.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh man, the Xbox 360 launch era title with
I
Nex.
forgot about that one.
I used to play Chrome Hounds online a lot because
Man.
back at the 360 launch, there wasn't a lot to play. But Chrome Hounds was a mech game, and it was there. So it was there for me. It was the Armored Core without being called Armored Core.
was that Tough as Nails also?
Oh, it was so hard. It
Oh,
was so
figures.
hard.
Why am I not surprised?
Well, I mean, From Software. Not all From Software games are hard. Ninja Blade's actually fairly easy. It's not that difficult.
Okay. I never remember too many people talking about that one, even though I remember it.
The Otogi games on Xbox also aren't too hard. For
Okay.
them as well.
God, I forgot about those too. Jeez.
Yeah. From Software's been around forever.
Yeah, it's just, golly, you start naming off names. I'm like, God, I
we
forgot
did a whole
about
RPG
these.
Cave episode about them, and it's like they go back all the way to like the mid '90s is what they've been making games since then. Yeah, just most people just think about them from Dark Souls, but they have a bunch of old franchises and stuff like that. They got like Bullet Witch and some other weird stuff. So, but anyways, Matt, how about you? What's a game that you gave up on but decided to give another try to?
I gave Red Dead Redemption 2 not just a second chance, a third chance. I'm pretty sure it took me like 4 tries because, yeah, that game was really rough. And I don't even know why I got into it because at that time, I wasn't even a big fan of Red Dead 1 the way I am now. But at that time, I remember rolling credits on Red Dead 1. It's like, oh, it's fine, but it wasn't the game that I was mentally looking for. But people just kept, Red Dead 2 just got critical acclaim, won awards, and just so many people kept hounding me like, incredible story, you're gonna love it. Even though I didn't like Red Dead 1 that much, I was like, okay, I picked it up for $20 or something, tried it, and just like what Ron said, I'm like, I don't like all these mechanics, okay? I can't even move properly. Like, it's so slow. Why is he like, huffing and puffing? Like, there's just so many, too many real life sim stuff. And I was like, I don't want this, right? But Marcus O'Neill, we did an episode of We the Gamer Cast with Sean, and Marcus O'Neill is very persuasive. Like, he kept really selling that game. Like, he really kept selling Red Dead Redemption 2. And I was like, okay, one more time. I will try it. Just one more time. And I don't know what it was, but I think like I just had a mind shift in terms of like, 'cause I think he said something like, the game is always going to feel a bit slow. And so stop trying to fight it and trying to expect it to feel like an arcade game like GTA 5. I think it was that line. So then my expectations shifted where it's like, okay, this game's going to feel awkward no matter what I do. So just get used to it. It's too
You
bad.
let Marcus Jedi mind trick you is what happened.
It worked. So I went in. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, look at how
Look at
young
that.
you guys are in this.
That's what happens. You get kids and they get you sick all the time. You get old real fast.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Oh man, look at this old setup you got too. You got your GameCube there. You got Leon S.
Oh
Kennedy
yeah, the silver
over there.
GameCube at that. Yes, Matt.
Platinum GameCube.
I mean, it's also the same GameCube I've got over there. But anyways, continue to talk about what you're talking
It's a
about.
good one. So I remember going in and just having this mindset of like, it's gonna be like that, and I was like, I'm gonna keep going. I kept going, and then I stopped doing all the sim stuff, right? Like if you asked me how much did my, you know, Arthur Morgan like weigh, I don't know because I didn't feed him. I didn't care. I didn't. Yep. I didn't do any of those things. I don't know how much he weighed. I didn't do any of the mini games. I was like, I'm just gonna stick to the main story. And I loved it. It's one of my favorite games from the PS4. And I'm so glad that he pushed me to, because not only did I love the story so much, it really pushed me to go back and play Red Dead 1 again. Because like I feel like I must have, had the wrong expectations for that. So, that's another game that I kind of lumped into one experience. So I went back and played Red Dead 1. I think I did it with Marcus O'Neill too. And like I just had a much more appreciation for that storyline. So yeah, it's really good. I don't know. Sometimes it's like it's not good to go in with like premeditated expectations, because you kind of have to sit back and let the game show you like this is how it plays, this is what the story is, and if that happens and you don't like it, it is what it is. But
that's a difficult thing to do sometimes when it's a sequel. When you change so hard. Much, yeah. And tell you the truth, if they had allowed you to sit there and kind of turn some of that stuff off, I probably would have sat there and be able to got through the whole game. Because I ended up watching the Let's Play because I wanted to see how the story was. And you're right, the story was really great. And I kind of got a little pissed off about that, because I was just like, man, if they had turned off some of that crap, or let you control some of that, I would have been like, I could have played the game. But that stuff was just so off-putting to me. I just couldn't.
Almost if there was like a difficulty setting that was just almost like arcade mode.
Anything
where you
just kind of remove some of that.
Yeah. Kind of like, because that's one of the things I actually appreciate about Fallout, like what Fallout does, because Fallout has like a survival difficulty where you have to, you have like a thirst meter and stuff like that, kind of like Red Dead.
People who want that. Yeah.
No, but I like that.
Right.
Yeah. Like I like the fact that it's an option there for people who like that stuff, but like don't force that on people who don't like that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Kind of like, although they, people felt the same way about San Andreas back in the day as well, with like, your character gaining weight and some of the life elements that were in San Andreas.
That was so much fun. I loved that aspect. I loved going to the gym.
It didn't bother me too much.
San Andreas. Yeah. I loved it. I would go eat so much food and get buff, and then wouldn't the NPC say something? Like, oh, it's laundry day.
Depending on
they would react to you, right?
Yeah.
Or if you didn't like cut your hair, they'd be like, oh,
I don't know. I didn't find it bad in San Andreas. It didn't rub me the wrong way like it did in Red Dead 2. I guess maybe because it just kind of wasn't intrusive, really, like it was in Red Dead.
You could totally. That's a system you could totally ignore because it was strictly cosmetic. Like they took that system in Red Dead and then made it like a big part of the gameplay. Which just bogged it down a little bit. Because like I'm with you, Ron. Like Red Dead is like it's slow pace. Like it was putting me to sleep, man, when I was playing it. But I don't know. Maybe one day I go back to it. Who knows? Maybe if I put it on some sort of wheel like structure and then spin that wheel and it came up, like maybe you go and play it. But
yes.
Now, actually, I'm more of a fan of the tournament brackets. The tournament brackets are more of my style.
The tournament brackets actually are great.
Yeah.
Especially when you get a chance to influence them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, over the summer, I'm going to be probably doing another tournament bracket stream.
Excellent.
Where I do two tournament brackets.
I'll be there.
Because I want to do a tournament bracket over the summer for non-licensed games and one that's just all licensed games. Because if I put a licensed game one on my normal tournament bracket, it will always win. I've noticed. So
it would.
Got to split it up a little bit. But anyways, my first one might surprise y'all because I'm a big fan of this series. But this was a series that did not jive with me at first. And that series is Persona. Because Persona 4 is one of my games that I had to give a second chance to. So
I'm surprised.
Yeah, so this was a game that I didn't play during the PS2 era. I played it in 2013 for the first time. When on my PS2 while I was waiting for the PS4 to come out. And I was looking for good role-playing games, and I had a Vita at the time, but I didn't play Persona 4 Golden for some reason. I played the PS2 version of Persona 4 instead for some reason. But for whatever reason, I just couldn't get into it at the time. Maybe it was my mood. Maybe there was something about it. Like there was something I just didn't really jive with the, the daily routine of Persona at the time. And in fact, it really turned my eyes away from that series for a long time until Persona 5 came out, where, Persona 5 came out. There was a ton of reviews that were really positive. A ton of people that I knew really enjoyed the game. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to give Persona 5 a chance. And of course, I love that game. So I was like, okay, well, now that I love Persona 5, maybe I go back and pick up this Persona 4 game that I put down and give it another try. And of course, I loved it because Persona 4 is actually a really good game. Surprise, surprise. This is surprising to no one. But it was just like, as we talked about a little bit, like it was just like, I think it was more than anything just my mood at the time where I just wasn't in the mood for a game like this.
It happens like that sometimes.
Yeah, but I just didn't realize that myself at the time, or I just didn't put two and two together. Because hindsight, of course, is 2020. So I just didn't really put together that's what was happening. But it feels like to me, looking back on it, like I just wasn't in the mood for the time. I should have just gone back to it earlier, but I didn't. But I'm so glad I gave Persona a chance again because it's one of my favorite RPG series of all time because it's so good. And I'm so glad I gave it a chance. So there you go. Persona 4, game I didn't expect to be talking about on an episode like this, but here we are. But Ron, hit me with another one, man.
It's going to be a bit shocking. Bully was, I don't know what it was about Bully when it first came out. I got it day one, and I don't know. I'm not even sure what I was expecting from it, but when I started to play it, it's just, I don't know. I gave it a couple hours, and I'm like, I'm not liking this. And
wow,
I pretty much ended up taking it back to the store, got some credit for it, and I can't even remember what in the world I bought, off that credit. So it wasn't until I ended up catching COVID. I can't remember how many years ago that was. And I mean, I was back then you had to take the whole full 2 weeks. The work job wasn't letting you come back until then. So I was like, well, I said, you know what? I said, let me plug in the old PS3, and because I didn't have a copy of Bully anymore, bought it from the store, and I started to play it, and this time it clicked. I don't know if it was just the fact that I didn't have anything else going on. I was gonna be stuck at the house for 2 weeks, and I was just like, but whatever it was, it clicked this time, and I really ended up enjoying it, and I hate that it just took years for me to go back to it, but I came back around, and yeah, I ended up really enjoying that game. I just could never figure out what in the world made me drop it. So maybe it was just one of those things where I can't remember what I played before. Maybe it just wasn't in the mood for that kind of game. I don't know, but it ended up working out.
Nice. Do you think it's because like the Bully it's a much smaller in terms of scope and scale compared to GTA? Do you feel like that kind of hit you impacted?
It's a possibility. I may have been expecting it to be too much like Grand Theft Auto. It's a possibility because I mean I did enjoy Grand Theft Auto quite a bit, so it's a possibility. Maybe I was expecting that. I'm not really sure. I can't put my finger on it because, like I said, when I played it that second time around, man, none of that bothered me. I actually appreciated it being a little bit more contained game than being all over the place. And of course, open world games have kind of become a big thing now, so anything short is going to be fine with me. And yeah, it may have been what it was.
Nice.
That's what I noticed when I played Bully too. Like it was very small in scope.
Yeah.
But it was just the story and the writing.
Yeah.
That kept me
and the story ended up being
it's
way better than I was expecting. That story was pretty damn good. Yeah.
It's very good. It's really good. Excellent.
I still haven't played that game, so I haven't
man,
had much to say about it.
Okay.
I don't know. I was just never really interested in it, and as much as I know that people love Rockstar's games, like Rockstar's games just haven't always usually clicked with me. So I'm never usually going out and seeking a lot of those games. Like even something like Grand Theft Auto, I'm like not super into. So yeah, I think that's why I should put down. Maybe I would have liked it more because I know that it's not, because like you said, it's more condensed than some of the other great.
Yeah, Bully's a bit different.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm ever going to go back to it, but the real question is, Ron, Lachlan wants to know, I wonder how many years it will be until Roy goes back to the Fall of Porcupine.
Oh.
0. You're going to go back now, right?
Well, no, I can't go back now because I'm playing Octopath Traveler. Locke, I can't make any promises. Maybe eventually.
Is it still on the wheel, or is it off?
Matt, I don't need Locke mad at me. So no more questions about Fall of Porcupine. Stop this.
So it's on.
I'm just saying.
So it's on the wheel. Confirmed.
No, it's not on the wheel.
He confirmed it. He confirmed it.
Then
It's
it's not
off
getting
the wheel.
It's not getting picked then. It's not on the wheel. You can't play it again. It's not on the wheel. It's not happening.
But I
So,
still
0 years.
I still own it. I can always install it again. I mean, I own it digitally. I didn't trash it, so it's there. But there's
Did you
113.
uninstall it?
There's 113 games that I can pick over that. So
Oh, Seth brings up a good point here. Just tell her you go back to it when I go back to Ghost of Tsushima.
Damn.
It buys you plenty of time, apparently, according to Seth.
well, Seth apparently has already confirmed that he's not going back there.
I don't know. I feel like we need to come up with like an extra life goal where Seth has to play Ghost of Tsushima.
I think that's going to be the only way we can get Seth to play that.
Yeah,
Please. You
for
have
the
to.
kids. You got it for the kids.
For the kids.
I mean,
For the kids, Seth.
if some of us have to play Pepsi Man for the kids, he should be okay with playing Ghost of Tsushima for the kids.
We could trade spots, Seth. Okay. Do you want me to play Ghost of Tsushima? And Seth can play
No,
Pepsi Man?
I've got an extra special game.
Matt, you've already played it. That's cheating.
I've already got an extra special game in mind for Matt.
Oh, boy.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
boy.
one that's
looking
not
forward to
Pepsi
it.
Man.
Elden Ring?
I mean, it might be a game with a bus that's crazy. That's all I'm
boy.
gonna say.
Oh boy. All right.
Anyways,
We'll save it. We'll save it for extra life.
we'll save it for the extra life. But what about you, Matt? What's your next one?
Similar to you, Ryan. Persona 5.
Oh, look at us as Persona
Oh.
boys. Just wording
Yes.
the Persona at first.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
I forgot you dropped that one.
Yes. So Delroy from the Backtrackers, he's very smart. Like he's like a video game encyclopedia. So he knows what games I like and don't like. So I think we're coming off of like stuff like Paradise Killer, and I was gushing about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 a lot. So he kind of knows that I like that over the top music, flashy art style. So he was like, "Yo, you're really gonna like Persona 5 Royal, and it's on Game Pass. So like, what do you have to lose?" And I was like, "Okay," but I was really hesitant and reluctant to play any Persona game, especially that one, just because the length. Like it is very, very long, and I'm like, it takes me a really long time to play games. So I was really reluctant, but he kept pushing, so I was like, "I'll try it." And I think I got past the first palace, so it's like, I don't know, more than 5 hours. Like I put in a bit of time.
Yeah.
And then I got past the first palace, and then all the social stuff kept coming in. And I was wondering, I was like, can you please stop making me socialize? Like, can I just get back to the next
Damn.
palace, to the next dungeon? Like, what is happening? So I shoved it. I shoved it. I was like, I'm not driving with this game because it's forcing me to be in high school again and
The
to socialize
socializing
and
is
take
the
tests and
best
stuff.
parts, man. Oh.
So I did shelve it. Delroy was very patient, and he's just like, I still feel like you're really gonna like it. Just give it a try, and it is a long game. Matt, like he's like, if it takes you 5 months, a year, just take your time and just enjoy it. So I said it to myself, I'll do one more try. I'm not gonna try to rush through a 100-hour game because that's never gonna happen. And I kind of did the same approach of let me see what the game is trying to tell me and teach me and give me, stop fighting because I'm going to have to socialize in this game. Clearly, it's a big part of it. So with that mindset, got into it and something just clicked where I was like, socializing is the best part of the game. And it's such a crucial part of the game, like, because you're going to get wrecked in the dungeons if you don't build up your social stats with certain party members. So it just clicked and I just loved the music, the art style. I think I got close to 100 hours and loved every minute of it. Like when I try to think critically, like, what I didn't like about Persona 5 Royal, or is there something I can't recommend? There isn't any besides the length. Like if you don't like long games, otherwise everything is fantastic in the game. And all 100 hours that I did, none of it was fluff. Like I can't think of if you remove this aspect of the game, it would be better. The answer is no.
Yep.
Like you need everything that was in the game, storyline, the tasks. Like it's phenomenal. So I'm glad Delroy pushed me, and I'm glad that I gave it another chance because I love Persona 5 Royal, and I'm like, Rebirth's taking up my time, but Persona 3 Reload's probably like number 2 in terms of hype for 2024.
I'm surprised the socializing parts is the parts that got you, because I mean you're socializing with all the waifus. What's the problem?
It confused me because I thought it was just a typical JRPG where it's like dungeon crawl story. So the fact that it pulled you like that, you can't go back and start like you can't fight. It's just like you have to go to high school, you have to buy this stuff.
Yeah, you
talk
got to
to
do
this
your
person.
classes, take your tests. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Well,
I
and
was
also
like,
you quit like at the moment before they introduced mementos, which is the part where you can go in when you're doing the dungeon crawling.
Mementos is great because you can overpower your character.
Yeah. I stopped right after. I stopped after the first palace when it's like all this high school stuff and stuff. I was like, "Yo, just let me go back in and just like wreck some people." It wouldn't let me. And I was like, so again, it's all about expectations, right? Like
Yeah.
it's I have to stop I have to stop going into games and looking for something and just let the game tell me, give me the experience, and then if I don't like it at that point, it is what it is.
You went back to it. It's one of the goats. Good job. Proud of you.
Persona 5 raw, baby.
Yep. Good God. The you guys are agreeing on stuff again. I don't know if I can deal with this. As Yon32 puts it, the cohesion begins
Yep, the
again.
eclipse is back.
It happens.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. You see that because like those like extra social tasks just remind me of the mini games for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I'm just like, man, if you didn't like those, I'm surprised you love the mini games from Final Fantasy VII Remake so much.
It's okay. Here's the thing. What I don't like about the mini games in Rebirth and Remake is it's because it's required for the platinum to do all of them and get first place.
Well, I mean,
Like
Matt,
yes,
you don't have to get the platinum. Just say it.
I have to
You
try.
don't have to.
I have to try.
You don't
I don't
have
have to, but I have to try. I have to try. I gotta give it my best foot. I gotta give it my best effort. So I know that if I wasn't going for the platinum and I was just tiptoeing and just dipping my toe in certain mini games, and if I didn't have to come in first place, I think it wouldn't feel like such a chore. But because it's a requirement for Johnny's treasure trove, gotta do them all and be number one according to Johnny. Fine. So I'll take my time. I can do it. I
That's
can
so
do
much
it.
work. It's so
I have
much
trust
work.
in you, Matt. You could do it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, Kiku even agrees. You don't even have to get the platinum. By the way, I
get-
read
no,
that wrong. And you know what? I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed.
No, I was gonna say that's not what she said. She said get that
Look,
platinum.
I'm pushing my own agenda here, okay? Sometimes I just
Clearly.
need to...
I was about to say that's not what Angel said.
Look, I have
I was
dyslexia.
like-
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
All good. All good. Sorry, not Johnny.
Oh, God.
Yanni's treasure trove. Thank you, Yon32.
Yeah, that's quite the correction. All right. As for me, my next one is a little survival horror game from the PlayStation 1. It's not Resident Evil, though. I know, Matt, I see the interesting look in your eye, but it's
Clock
not Resident Evil. No, it's not that either. It's this game, Fear Effect, for the PlayStation 1. First of all, this game is a survival horror game, but it's 4 discs. It's
Oh,
God.
4 discs
Yes.
long because it's full of FMVs.
FMVs, I do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not an FMV game though, because it's like first of all, it's like a 3D animated thing, and a lot of the FMVs or the cutscenes are not real life stuff, but it's interesting. They do some FMV blending in with CG characters in the background in some areas, and then also just a lot of like cinematic stuff where it's like it's got like instead of having like the flat cinematic image in the background like something like Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1, it's got like this animated movie that's playing in the background while your character's walking around to kind of be the environment. It's like a weird and unique looking game, but it was a game that I picked up on the PlayStation 1 around when it came out. Because I was looking for a horror game and something different from something like Resident Evil. So I was like, oh, well, I'll give this game a chance. And it had like a lot of magazine ads and stuff like that. Although this is one of those games where a lot of people know it for the not so great magazine ads because they're trying to portray like the female character as kind of like a sexy character, which, I don't love when they do that. But, I was brought in by the marketing as it was. And I didn't really enjoy the game when it came out. It's very difficult, especially if you don't really know a lot of what to do, because this game is less about avoiding enemies and more about solving puzzles in the environment. Kind of like something like Alone in the Dark is. Like, it's much closer to something like Alone in the Dark versus Resident Evil. Even though you are fighting enemies and there is, combat in this game, the combat isn't the main focus. A lot of the puzzle solving is. But I just wasn't really into it at the time. And I didn't really actually play this game until like 2 years ago. I was going through, picking up games for my PlayStation 1. And I saw Fear Effect just sitting there at like a convention. I think at Fan Expo was where I picked this one up, just at a random table there. I think it was like $10. So I was like, okay, well, let me give this game a chance again for $10. I'm willing to give this game another try. And I played it on like an Extra Life stream that same year. And I really enjoyed it. Like, I really enjoyed going through it with like that mindset of being much more okay with, the puzzle solving and, playing with a guide a little bit when, like, not being afraid to use a guide in certain sections where the puzzles were a little obtuse. Because, you kind of have to do that with some of these older games.
Yeah, sure enough.
Especially more of the puzzle-based ones. So I actually had a pretty good time with it. The story is actually really interesting. It's about this, girl who's kind of run away from her rich parents to join this cult. But then, this spirals into this whole situation where they're trying to, like, resurrect the dead, and there's, like, a bunch of ghosts and stuff. Like, it's like it goes places with the story. But I really, really enjoyed it. And then its sequel, Fear Effect 2 Retro Helix, is actually, like, way better than this one. And I really enjoyed going and visiting that as well. So the Fear Effect games are pretty fun, which is why, like, it makes me sad that when they tried to bring back the Fear Effect IP back, I think in 2017 or 2018, they released this, like, top-down shooter that was, like, a budget game over at Square Enix, because Square Enix owned the IP for Fear Effect, and it was terrible. It was not good. They also had promised a remake of the original game that I played on the PS1, but that never came out, and that we've literally haven't heard anything since it was announced like 8 years ago at this point. So
yeah,
I think it's dead in the water. Yeah, because I don't even think they own the rights to it now. I think it got sold to Embracer Group when they bought like IDOS Montreal.
There you go.
Yeah, because this was an IDOS game, so it's one of those properties like Deus Ex and stuff that went along with it. So. There you go. Is this like LD Parasite Eve? It's not like Parasite Eve at all. It's not a role playing game, but yeah, Parasite or Fear Effect. I think it's actually a pretty solid PlayStation 1 game. I would love to see it, maybe come to the PlayStation Plus service at some point, because I would love to see maybe more people check it out who like survival horror games. But this is one that I just didn't give a good chance to at the time. Maybe it was just the mood. Maybe it was another expectations issue. But I'm glad I gave it another chance. Anyways, Ron, did you have any more that you wanted to highlight before we move on? Because I do want to make sure we get to some of these questions.
Yeah, I'll just run through real quick. Dragon's Dogma, Prey, Darksiders 3, Kingdoms of Amalur. Dragon's Dogma was probably the one that was the biggest one for me, because I bought that when it first released on PS3. Did not like it. It was a very ugly, clunky game. Didn't have fast travel. That game initially was not for me. I moved on from that pretty quick. That was another one. I took it back to the store. Was done with it. But back on the PS4 where they had, I think the PS5 that just came out, and the PS4 version was on sale for like $4 on PSN sale. So went ahead and bought it, and I don't know, man. Sometimes I wonder if maybe me being older, I have a bit more patience for games, or maybe a bit more understanding of how some games are just going to be different. But that next go around, man, I end up falling in love with that game. It just clicked for me, and yeah, I'm a big Dragon's Dogma fan, so yeah.
Nice. I know Garrett loves Dragon's Dogma as well, so.
Yeah, it's a great game.
Yeah, nice. Matt, what about you?
I think people have heard me talk a lot about Xenoblade Chronicles 2, so I won't talk about that one. I do want to shout out Grice, or how Lachlan pronounced it, Reese.
Greece?
Yes, whatever you take your pick. That one I remember playing because it was highly regarded by critics, and people said it's such an emotional game, beautiful. So I had very, very high expectations for Greece. And if you haven't played it before, there's not really any dialogue. It's really an artistic game where like you have to get the story from interpreting the visual arts. So I remember rolling credits on it the first time, and I was like, I don't get the hype. I was like, it's a pretty game, but I didn't understand it. And then for backtrackers, I was looking for something that tied into like some other musical games, and Grease isn't a musical game, but there's beautiful music in it, so I just mashed it. And then I was like, I wanted to try it one more time just to see what kind of experience I would get from it. And I remember just, again, no expectation, like just manage my expectations, like just let the story tell, like let the game tell me the story it wants to. And the second time I played it, surprisingly, even though I knew I was coming, very emotional experience. Like something just finally resonated with the art, and I was able to recognize like what the story wanted to come out, and fantastic. So I'm glad I gave it another chance. And then I know Fuya picked it up on PS5, and she said like there's some really good PS5 features in terms of, like on the DualSense. So I did double dip. I bought it again for PS5 because I want to go back and get that platinum, because it is a special game. So shout out to the one and only Reese.
Nice. I mean, we have the correct pronunciation on screen right now as well, so it's a thing. But yeah, the last game I wanted to highlight is a game that, a lot of people at the time didn't like. This is a bit of a notorious game. But it's a game that I'm glad I gave a second chance to, because it's a game that at the time I'm just like, this game doesn't make any sense. The story is all over the place. And it's just, it's not something that I really loved, especially because like people didn't love how linear this game was. And this game shouldn't be too surprising to people because it's on the thumbnail, because it's Final Fantasy 13, y'all. It's finally time to talk about Lightning and her friends, because to Ron's dismay,
Please, God.
I like Final Fantasy 13 a lot. I think Final Fantasy 13 is a great game that people didn't appreciate at the time, including myself. I gave it a second chance, basically when, because I played it at launch. Hated this game, kind of like your experience with Bully, Ron, where I sold this game pretty quickly because I just couldn't get into it. When Xbox Series X came out and we got a bunch of backwards compatible games, this is one of those games that it was not only backwards compatible on Series X, but it had a lot of additional enhancements to the game, including, full 4K support, up-res movies, because the movies on the 360 version were infamously bad for Final Fantasy 13. But playing it on like with that new coat of paint just really helped me appreciate the game more. And not only that, but like a lot of the complaints at the time were it's a Final Fantasy game, but it's very linear. You're just running down a corridor for the first like 3 or 4 hours of the game. Well, guess what? That's most modern video games at this point. So like this was actually kind of like a harbinger of things to come for a lot of modern video games was Final Fantasy 13. But we at the time, we fought back against it a little bit, kind of like, the rebels are fighting back against, the army in the video we're watching here on the YouTubes. But man, this game was super fun to go back to. I actually really like the combat system. I like the characters. Lightning is still, kind of a dull character, but at the same time, there's something about her that I just really like for some reason. And the 2 sequels are great too, because I like both 13-2 and then Lightning Returns. Like I've gone back and played them since this came out and really enjoyed those experiences as well. So Final Fantasy 13 is one of those games that just at the time just did not resonate with me at all. But it's just, when you look at it through the lens of modern game design, it's like, okay, well, it just fits in with more like modern games. In fact, it's actually like the most modern feeling Final Fantasy game besides something like Rebirth is. So yeah,
why do so many people not like this game? Tell me about it. I'm not familiar with it.
It's not a good game. That's
wow. Wow.
I mean, yes, but Ron also said the same thing about Remake, Matt, but you know how we feel about that.
Well, Remake is not a good game.
See, that's what I mean.
Rebirth is better.
Yeah. No, Final Fantasy 13, again, I think there are a couple complaints for it. Number one, people just don't like Lightning, the main character. Like she's like kind of like Cloud in a lot of ways, where she's like almost like
a lot of those characters are.
Yeah, but
Okay,
yeah, a lot of the like there are some annoying characters, sure, like Snow. I don't really love Snow, despite the fact that I love Troy Baker. Snow is just kind of like a goofy character, but like I don't know.
Matt, you would hate him.
Yeah, he probably would.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but also people didn't like the idea where it felt like the very linear game design. People were just not into that. So I think it's a combination of both of those. But I actually like 13 a lot. Again, it's a game that I think it's only gotten better with time, and I really hope that they bring the 13 trilogy at some point to PlayStation 5, so more people get a chance to play these with the same way that I got a chance to revisit these on Xbox. So there you go. That was my last one. And of course, Kiku just agrees with Ron on this one, and that's the last time I flashed that comment there. Because we got to let some friends into the car with us. It's time for the carpool. So first off, we did also ask all of y'all out there in the PlayStation Drive community what's some of the games that you also gave second chances to. So part of this, like some of these will be questions, but also some of these will be mixed in as well. So just FYI as we go through some of these. We're going to start with Quaggy, who says, what games will you give another shot to after not liking them? And why are they Xenoblade Chronicles, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, The Last of Us Part 2, and Nier Automata? I feel like this question is specifically aimed at Ron for some reason.
I've already played all these games.
He named every single game that is cheeks. It's like he's going for the Cheeks Award with those.
No. No, it's the Naga Chaka playlist. Let's go, Quaggy. Let's go. Thank you. Good
Cheeks
question.
playlist. That's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, is there a game on our radars that, we want to give a second chance to at some point?
Maybe Red Dead
Something
2
that-
at some point? Maybe?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Good question. That's a good question. Is there a game on my radar that I've dropped that I want to come back? You know what? I think Ron's gonna like this one. I'm not committed to it, but I would be curious to go back to play Citizen Sleeper.
Yes!
But my biggest issue with it was not the story, but it was I didn't know where to go at certain points of the game, and that happened quite a bit. It's a text heavy game, so if I were to ever go back, I would need to follow some sort of guide at least, or maybe there's more tutorials or walkthroughs online. But at this point, just that's my only frustrating part was like I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to. So then I got frustrated. I was like, well, I'll just do whatever's available and just randomly progress the story.
The mindset you need to have for Citizen Sleeper is that you're going to miss out on some of the stuff. You're not going to be able to do everything. And maybe that's what the issue you were having. Yeah, you're going to have to pick and choose sometimes. And that's the thing. And you're not going to see everything in one playthrough. It's going to be kind of impossible. Yeah, it's going to be impossible to tackle everything. So change your mindset a little bit the next time around. And I think you'll see it.
I'm open to it.
Yeah.
I'm open to it.
Just give it a chance.
Haven't shut the door on it.
Yeah.
Because there's a sequel coming to it, right?
It is. It is. And I am actually anticipating that quite a bit because I did enjoy Citizen Sleeper a lot. I loved it.
Nice.
I'm open to it. Yeah.
Yes. That's all I ask.
Nice. Well, the easy one for me, I said it earlier in the show, is Alone in the Dark because I'm waiting for it to get fixed, and I think that's a game that I'm putting it down, not because I don't like it, but because of the problems. But in more of the spirit of this question, there was one game that I listed earlier in the show about the games that I wanted to beat for the first time this year. And that game's not a PlayStation game, but it's a Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past because it's a game that I didn't grow up playing like a lot of other people did. In fact, two top-down Zelda games were not, never really my jam. And Link to the Past, I've tried a bunch of different times to get into that game, and I've never gotten into Link to the Past yet. So this is the year where I feel like I really want to give it its earnest shot to be able to play and beat that game. So for the first time. So I got to say Link to the Past is like my obvious example. Yon32 says, did anyone say Cyberpunk?
Never played it.
I haven't, but lucky enough, I waited for every single patch for it to be completely done first before I even bother playing. I'm looking forward to it, though.
Yeah. I played 25 hours of Cyberpunk on my PlayStation 4 Pro when it came out. Because I suffered through the bugs. I didn't ever finish it. And I put it down, similar to what I did with Alone in the Dark. But guess what? I never went back to it. So maybe I go back to it at some point. But I see Yarden in the chat encouraging me to give Link to the Past another chance for sure. So Yarden brings up a good point. Ron and Matt should just make a deal right now. Ron will play if Matt plays what?
It's a dangerous game, Yarden. Jordan, that's a
I've already sit there and kind of sit there and agreed that I put Replicant on the wheel for Matt. So Near Replicant is on the wheel and will get played at some point in time. I did that for Matt.
That is true.
Yeah, it's harder to
Friendship.
make that kind of deal with when you have the wheel deciding when you're playing games.
But
right?
it's on there. I mean, so if it wasn't for Matt, I wouldn't even put that on there.
It'll get there at some point.
It will.
Yeah.
There's 100 other 12 chances it won't.
Look, it's inevitability at this
but it's
point.
still a chance.
True. Yeah, that's all I need, just a chance.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance. There's a chance.
All right.
All right. Well, next up we got CowboyDangerD.
Cowboy.
Got a bit of a long one here, but we're gonna read through it now. Folks at home, I'm just gonna throw this out there a little bit. I don't know. We've been getting longer and longer questions on some of these shows, and don't get me wrong, I love when y'all actually write in some of the longer questions. But if we can get these a little bit shorter in the future, that'd be great. Or you might hear me start paraphrasing some of these in the future because some of them can be quite long. But I love the nuance here. I love all the context that is in here. So I do love the fact that you took the time to write this long question to us. So CowboyDangerD says, first of all, to answer the question for the show, a few games that I gave another shot to are Dragon Age Inquisition, Shadow of Mordor, and Grand Theft Auto 4. For whatever reason, the first time I played these games, I couldn't vibe with them. Thankfully, I gave them a second chance, and all three have become favorites of mine. A game that I've been giving multiple chances to, but will never vibe with, sadly, is Battlefield 2042. I think that's a common one for a lot of people, Cowboy, which is a shame because the Battlefield games used to be my favorite online games to play. I mean, we just need Battlefield Bad Company 2 to come back, Cowboy. That's what we need. But gonna ask a question that's off topic. That's okay. If you could get boardroom executives in a room and educate the suits on the current gaming landscape and how to set reasonable expectations for their game devs, what would you say and how would you get that across to them? Me personally, I would tell them to look at what their dev strengths and weaknesses are. It's okay to take chances just to understand the risk/reward that comes with that. Also, live service is not the future. It has a place, but it's not the wave that it once was. And no, your game is not going to be the next Fortnite, especially if you have a team of devs who are experienced in story-driven single-player games. Also, it's okay to make smaller projects that don't cost millions of dollars or sells millions of copies day one. Thanks for all you do. Love the show. So shout out to Cowboy. That's quite an interesting question. I love what's going on here. Yeah, I mean, honestly, Cowboy took a lot of what I would have said. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the point that Cowboy makes about live service not being the future. I think it's the future for certain types of games, but I don't think it's the future for every game that's out there. I think that because you just can't physically do that because you can't expect every single game to take up everyone's time around the world. It just doesn't work. Like people's time just doesn't work that way. And I also love the idea too of having like smaller developers, like developers make smaller games and smaller projects. So yeah, I for me, like the main thing I would put down is just the idea of just developers making what they want to make and just giving them, the financial means to make whatever weird stuff they want to make. Cause I think we need more weird games, as Seth would say, if Seth was here. But also just, smaller, more experimental projects are okay. Like we've seen it work with Obsidian over at Microsoft with stuff like Pentiment, and Grounded. Like I think that could be more of the type of thing I would love to see in the future. But what about y'all? What do you think, Matt?
I would hope that executives just give developers like the freedom to do what they're excited about and what they're passionate about, as opposed to chasing the hype. It usually doesn't work out. I mean, we've kind of seen it with, Sony trying to double down with live service games, and now they've kind of stopped. Because, and when you look at development cycles, by the time you try to jump onto a hype, something that's the latest and greatest thing, by the time your game comes out, that phase is already gone. Like there's almost no point in trying to chase a trend. So I would like to see that, and then, just I think it's important that the developers have an opportunity to come up with new IP, right? There seems to be this ongoing trend, not just in video games, but in television and movies, for this reliance on sequels, remakes, and remasters. Yes, I'm the problem. I know I buy remakes and remasters.
I was going to call you out.
Yeah, I admit it. But I still want new IPs, right? Like this reliance on, using big properties just to get gamers in. It's not pushing the medium forward. It's not pushing the art forward. In that sense, and like what Ryan said, like I think you need to give them, opportunity to come up with smaller titles. Like we don't need 200-hour games every single time. Like it's too much. And just looking at the gaming landscape, I mean, who is buying the consoles and who's playing on PC games? I don't imagine it's always, 13-year-old kids. Like it really is middle-aged people. And maybe perhaps looking at, what our lifestyles are and how many games we can play, what we're looking for games. Like I'm personally not looking for 300-hour single-player experiences. Like if it's 20 hours and it's tight, I'm happy, right? So
well, the games that feel like they should be those 300-hour games should have every right to be those 300-hour games. It's just when you take a game that shouldn't be that length and stretching it out, that's when it becomes a problem. It's the Alien Isolation Syndrome is what I refer to it as, where that game should have been 6 hours long, but it was 25 because Sega felt like, well, we can't have people returning this game, so let's make it way longer than it needs to be, which is a problem.
It's true.
Yeah. Ron, what about you, man?
Everybody had good points, man. Not to repeat everything that everybody said, Cowboy and you guys pretty much nailed it. I mean, don't ask your developers to make stuff that isn't for them. At least talk to them about it. Don't come into the room and just like, hey guys, live service popping off, so stop the single player game that you're making and make this live service game. We don't care if you want to make it or not. And then reverse course, because then you run into situations like now where we don't know what's going on first party wise because everybody's dropping projects that they were working on, for the live service thing. And yeah, bring back smaller titles. It's good to have games like Concrete Genie, that was a really fun game. It wasn't 50 hours long because once you start to get into adult life, you don't need every game to be 50, 60, 70 hours or more. I play those kind of games, but like Matt said, I am perfectly fine with a game being 20, 30 hours as long as it's tight. The story is great. Gameplay is great. I'm cool with that. I have zero issues with that whatsoever. But Sony needs to sit there and start to get a little bit more varied with their portfolio like it used to be. They had small games, big games, and they all were kind of different. Now it's kind of like they focus more on just doing the big AAA stuff. They closed up their studios that were doing smaller things. The company that made Concrete Genie, they closed that dev up and kind of moved them into other studios. So, you guys pretty much, like I said, nailed it. It's just one of those things where you don't force people to make games that they don't want to make or they're not in the wheelhouse for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just throwing it out there, Ron, there's a live action Gravity Rush movie coming out at some point. If only a developer that made Gravity Rush was still around, maybe we would have something Gravity Rush related to come out alongside that.
Yeah,
movie.
could have made Gravity Rush 3 and released it at the same time, but
then we could have seen like what's happening with Fallout or with The Witcher when that TV series show came out. Because if the Gravity Rush movie's good, people will look for something Gravity Rush to play, right?
Yeah. I guess in some ways too, though, I guess we can't really blame Sony fully when gamers say they want those games and then they don't go out and buy them.
Yeah.
So,
but I think that part of that is
sword,
I think a lot of these companies, especially Sony first party, just doesn't explore the pricing scale with a lot of this stuff. Because if you want to make a smaller size project, well, it's obviously going to cost less money for your company to make them. And I think you would get a lot more people in the door if the price was much lower on some of those.
I mean, the price is right. Yeah, you're right about that. Look at Helldivers 2.
Yeah.
That came out at a good price. And I think that really probably helped it out. They didn't come out with a $70 game for that. They said, here, it's $40. And look what that's done. So, yeah.
That's what I mean. Point. Like certain games, like certain smaller scale games, like more companies should be willing to explore the scale price wise, because if you're going to make a smaller project, or if it gives the company the freedom to make a 10-hour game, and then charge less for it because the budget's much lower on them, and I think you'll get more people in the door that way.
Yeah.
And then that actually gets people more excited for if they wanted to do a big budget sequel to one of those, then the people are in the door already because they're invested in an IP, so they're more willing to go out and spend money on a bigger experience.
Yeah,
right?
great point.
That's how that plays into it a little bit. But next question comes to us from Black Wyver, and again, this is another long one, so stick with me, folks. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I tried that game in 2018. In 2023, and I didn't really enjoy Rift Apart. It quickly fizzled out after the first hour or so I jumped back in later and was happy to finish the game, although I'm still not buying the hype for that game for whatever reason. Questions for the show. This is going to be a lengthy one, so please be patient. Uncharted franchise is my favorite PS exclusive franchise, no doubt about it. We know, or we think we know, that Naughty Dog is not making the next Uncharted game. What are your thoughts on the Uncharted franchise being opened to other PlayStation studios, but not just limited to one studio, similar to the current status of the Prince of Persia games, but imagine not exclusive to PlayStation studios? Now, Black Wyver has more questions. Let's stick with the Uncharted one first here. Do we think, first of all, I don't actually know if we have any kind of confirmation as to whether or not Naughty Dog is working on the next Uncharted game or not, or if there is even one in development. There are rumors, sure, but there's no real confirmation one way or the other. So you never know, especially after Last of Us Factions got canceled. Maybe they do go back to Uncharted with their next game. Who knows? But what do you guys think about this question? Starting with Ron.
Man, give me a sequel to Lost Legacy. Hand it off to Blue Point. They've already shown they're talented. I think they could do magic with that. There is no reason why Lost Legacy has not got a sequel. That game was fantastic. It is S tier. To me, is one of the best out of that franchise. But for some odd reason, it's like Lost Legacy came out, people enjoyed it, and then Naughty Dog was just kind of just like, we'll just tuck it away and not talk about it. And it's just like, why?
Well, I think at that point, we know that Naughty Dog probably was like needed a break from Uncharted at that point, because it was like 4 straight Uncharted games and then Lost Legacy on top of that, right? So like,
Yeah.
I think they just needed time away from Uncharted.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, Blue Point is there. I don't know what they're working on, but I would be fine if they took their hands on that. It would be fine as long as I got a sequel to that. But Lost Legacy deserves a lot more respect than it gets.
Nice. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, it's like a shame and a waste if Sony doesn't capitalize on one of their biggest franchises like Uncharted. Like it doesn't make any sense that they're not making new games. It doesn't have to be Naughty Dog. Like if they're, it really, again, it comes back to whichever studio is excited to be developing the next Uncharted game, and if even if it's like a twist to the formula, I think it's fine. But like that franchise, that IP that Sony's built for how many years now, since like what PS3, PS2,
Yeah, PS3.
PS3,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like and like what Ron said, like they've already kind of carved a different path with going Nadine and Chloe, so you don't have to continue the Nathan Drake story, and they're great characters. It was a great story, it's a great experience. I don't know why they're not capitalizing on it in any form. It's just mind-boggling.
And not to spoil, but even with the way that Uncharted 4 ended, it kind of like left
sets
the
up
door
another
open
character.
there. Yeah, left the door
Keep
open.
going.
I mean, hell, let Nadine and Chloe be the new Sully for that person that I'm talking about from Uncharted 4. I don't care. Just do something with it, though.
Yeah. Well,
Everybody
especially
wants it.
because too, we've actually seen this work before with Ben Studios making the Vita Uncharted game.
Yeah.
Because the Uncharted Golden Abyss wasn't made by Naughty Dog, and it was a fine game. Like I think the only problems with that game were the Vita specific things, because they wanted to show off like the back touch as you like scratch off some artifacts and stuff like that. But like for the most part, I think that game was pretty solid. So I think that they definitely could do this more. In fact, we saw that a lot with the PSP era, with God of War going to Ready at Dawn, and other PlayStation franchises. So yeah, I would love to see them do this more as well. With like if Naughty Dog doesn't want to work on another Uncharted game, if they want to do Last of Us 3 or something else, let them do that. Because let them do what they want to do, and just have Uncharted be made by someone else.
Yeah,
That's
Sony has plenty of party studios, man, so it can get handed to somebody. They're all talented, so
Yeah. Well, we do know that the difference, Ron, is that Uncharted, you really couldn't make it to a live service game well. So, and that was the focus. That was the focus for the last like 3 or 4 years of this one. Because we know they had 10, live service games in development, and now I would imagine it's only like a couple now.
yeah, probably only like 2 or 3, probably.
Yeah. So I think that is more the reason, more than anything, is why we haven't seen Uncharted come back. But I imagine it comes back in the next like 5 years. There's another Uncharted game. They
hope
said
so.
they're making another Uncharted movie. So like
No,
maybe they want to have something out like in time with the movie.
I would prefer them not do that, but
But what if they did an Uncharted game starring Mark Wahlberg and the kid?
that'll be a multi-pass for me. Thanks.
Tom Holland, multi-pass.
Holland.
Yeah, I'm not buying
Yeah.
that game either. No,
no,
thanks.
thank you.
Uncharted
thanks.
the game, Uncharted the movie, the game. It'd be like Street Fighter the movie.
Ryan,
the game.
please don't do that. Don't bring
Please
that to
stop.
me. Ugh.
Yeah, don't speak to NC Universe.
Thank you.
Don't do that.
Stop this now.
Yeah.
No.
Black Fiver's other questions, though. My other questions for the show: what genres would you like the studios to approach Uncharted? I'd love to see a Metroidvania Uncharted game. Second, would you like PlayStation to bring in new or even unrelated characters to continue with existing characters, or spin-offs, or backstories of existing characters like prequels? And third, do you have any preferences for any specific studios for these games? It's a lot there. With Uncharted, I don't know if I really want to see them do like another one without like doing another style of game until they just do another traditional style Uncharted game. Like what we talked about, I kind of want to see them do that first before doing a lot of wacky ideas with Uncharted. Because you could do like a Metroidvania Uncharted game. I think that would be interesting. Or other styles of games. What if they did Uncharted Racing? Maybe they made like a kart racing game with Elena and Sully and that bad guy that drank blue goop. That could be a thing. Yeah, I'm guessing y'all agree with this though, right? Like I think I'm probably on the right track with this one.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I'd rather get a more traditional one with that one.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah. The Uncharted magic is with the game style. Like I mean, I wouldn't mind a bit later, but I think the magic is what they have, that formula. And let's get back to it first before we start
Yeah.
spinning off somewhere else.
Yeah. Oh, Yarden brings up a good point. My answer to every question like this: make it a turn-based role-playing game.
You know, as
More?
much as I
Sure.
love RPGs, I couldn't see that working for that.
Come on, you got a whole party system, right? With Nathan
Look,
Drake.
don't get me wrong. It isn't like I
would
wouldn't give it a chance, but
See?
I just couldn't see
Yeah.
it though.
Come on, come on. You got a party system. You shoot each other. You
Hey.
heal each other with band-aids. I
Hey
don't know.
man, it might work. I mean, who thought that Gorilla was going to sit there and leave Killzone and make Horizon? So
You can also have that an attack like a skill where you throw like a kerosene keg at someone and then you shoot at it and it explodes.
Yeah, so
can
it
work.
could happen.
Yeah, it's something. As far as bringing in like the second question, I like the idea of PlayStation actually exploring the space and having new characters, like having new IP. Like I would actually prefer that over bringing back some older IP because there are obviously some old PlayStation IP that I would love to see them come back. But I kind of want to see them do some new stuff. Like I liked that about Horizon. Like I liked getting like the next big IP from Sony with Horizon, or so with something like Ghost of Tsushima. I really enjoyed having like Sucker Punch working on something new. So that's probably my preference, but I think you can do it with like a nice mix of bringing some of these old IP back and bringing us some new stuff. I think there's like a good middle ground that you need to achieve there. Cause I know there's people just sitting there patiently waiting for a new Infamous game to come out. I'm one of those people. Like anytime now, Sony, if you want to bring that back with a different studio, please do that. Or even something like, Jack and Daxter, like coming back with another studio, I think would be really interesting as well. So there's a lot of different options out there. But what do you think? You guys think?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I mean, I would prefer new IP, but a good mix is fine. I mean, a little bit of old, a little bit of new is good because, like you said, I mean, we've had new good characters come out, Horizon being one of them. So the studios have shown that they can bring out new stuff. To tell you the truth, I would much rather Naughty Dog not do Last of Us 3 right now, and then if it's still rumored to be that sci-fi game that they were working on, I would really like to see what they could do with that. So, like you said, a bit of new and old is good. It's always good to sit there and see old franchises, and especially if they're good. Kind of just a nostalgia thing. It gets you every time. Yeah, Infamous. Yeah.
Yarden also agrees on Infamous one. Although,
Yeah.
I'm also pining for a new Resistance game at some point, but I know that's never happening. So
Yeah, I mean, plenty of people asking for it, but Sony apparently has no interest. They're like, nah.
well. I mean, Resistance 3 sold less than 100,000 copies.
Yeah, see.
I don't think they're ever.
Sony's like,
Wow.
nope.
Damn.
Yeah, but all right. Last question, of course. Do you have any preference for any studios for these games? No. I mean, I think we're just
Not really.
kind of
Yeah.
spitballing. So yeah, I think we'd have to that'd have to be like a topic or something where we sit down and formulate some of these ideas and assign studios to them. So maybe we do that in like a deeper dive on a later show. Because we only got so much time here. We got more questions to get to. So next up, we got Rio. I hope I said that correctly. There's a bunch of O's, okay? It's Rio or Ryu or something. But anyways, Rio says, a few games that I have tried initially and weren't into were quote-unquote Dark Souls games. I played it when it came out, but I didn't go back and finish it until years later. And now I've played every Souls game and beaten them. Next one up is Europa Universalis 4. Again, I played it when it came out, but it's a grand strategy game with a steep learning curve. So once I learned the game, I loved it. And Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, I got on the PlayStation 2, but didn't actually finish it until a couple years ago after just not being really into it back in the day. That's a really hard game, especially back in the day on the PS2.
SMT does not do it for me.
But it's featuring Dante from the Devil May Cry series. It says it on the sticker on the front of it. So, anyways, question for the show. If it's been already brought up, that's fine. You don't have to answer it again. What are some games that you are generally enjoying, that are generally enjoyed by many, but you guys don't like? For me, out of recent games, I've tried for the last 2 months, Helldivers 2. I don't really like how the aim assist, that you can't turn it off, or I didn't really like the gameplay loop. And Baldur's Gate 3. I've tried a lot of Larian RPGs, Divine Divinity, Divinity Original 1 and 2. I guess I just don't like that style of CRPG. Those fall into that category for me. So are there games that people really enjoyed, but we don't enjoy, Ron? Because I feel like those Xenoblade Chronicles games.
Oh yeah,
people
definitely.
really like those games. I don't like
Xenoblade
those
is
games.
trash. That is straight up trash
Wow.
as cheeks. I'm gonna call it out.
Wow. The madness.
That it's not madness. It's not madness.
I'm just
Everybody in
gonna
carpool
leave
going
this
crazy over these
132
games. I'm
commentary.
like, really? If these are not definitive RPGs, they don't have great stories. The characters suck. I don't
How
understand.
dare you?
I'm gonna
How
say
dare
it.
you? No,
There are way better
stop the
RPGs
madness.
out there than this. Oh my gosh! Don't get me going on that.
Yeah.
It's
The crimes.
disgusting.
I mean, that's probably just
Wow.
the most obvious example of like games that Ron and I just don't like, that everyone else likes. I get it. I get why people like Xenoblade games, but like, I'm just not.
Thank you.
But like,
I don't get it, Matt.
But I will say for me, I said this one earlier, but Grand Theft Auto. People love Grand Theft Auto. I do not. I just can't really jive with Grand Theft Auto at all. I just don't really like those games very much. And I've always kind of felt that way. So that's kind of what about you. But what about you, Matt? Because I'm curious to know, like, what popular games you don't like.
I don't like Hades. Like, I think that's just generally with like roguelike or roguelike games, whatever they're called. Like, it just that procedurally generated aspect of it, and then I guess it's like a Souls-like element, right? Like where you die, you have to start all over again, and then it's regenerated all over again. Like it's too hard, it's too much. So I've tried Hades like twice now, just because of the mass high praise for it. It's a beautiful game. It works well, but I'm like, I don't feel like I'm making progress at all.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the worst
Yeah.
feeling. So
Well, it's
sorry.
different from Souls because like you're not losing XP. You're basically just starting over from scratch, but you have certain abilities that come with you. But beyond that, like there are sometimes where you'll go on like 5 different runs in a game like Hades and make 0 progress.
Ah, that's so
Yeah,
painful. I
that's the
can't.
game
That
loop,
hurts
man.
so
I
much.
just can't get them. That's the reason why I don't like roguelikes.
Yeah.
The game loop kills me.
Look at that, the cohesion is here. None of us like roguelike games. I love it.
There it is.
I love it. Yeah,
There it
I'm not really into Hades or other roguelike games either. Like the closest one, the one that got me the most was Dead Cells. Like Dead Cells, I actually really enjoyed a lot. But even that, like I didn't finish it because like I just couldn't deal with that gameplay loop for a certain period of time. So, but good question. I like that question. And I also agree with you, Ryu, about CRPGs. I've talked about it before, but like CRPGs like Baldur's Gate or Divinity Original Sin 2 and stuff, I'm not really super into either. But next up, we got Kiku, who says, Grand Theft Auto 5 couldn't keep my attention when I tried it, so I moved on and never went back to it. I may give it another shot in the future, but my question for y'all is, what's your favorite food? If you had to choose between it or gaming, which would you give up? So my favorite food is pizza. I love pizza. I've always loved pizza. I'm a big pizza person. But would I give up pizza for life to continue to play video games? 100% I would give up pizza for life if I could continue to play video games. Because I like pizza a lot, but like maybe I'll be a little bit more healthy if I can't eat pizza anymore. And two, I'm not like, it's my favorite food, but I can live without it because there are a lot of other good foods out there that I can go eat instead. So that's my answer. But what about you, Matt?
Oh, this is hard. Favorite food? Like, yeah, pizza's really good with the right toppings, but then I also think about like a nice cheeseburger but then you can't have a nice cheeseburger without French fries. But then, I also want some sushi at the same time. So like, I don't know, let's just do one experience, right? Let's just start off with sushi first.
Just one
and then
One
cheeseburger and
experience.
fries.
Sushi, cheeseburgers, and pizza do not go together. You can't one experience that.
I mean,
One
sushi
meal,
pizza is
guys.
a thing, Ron.
See? One meal, finish it off with some red velvet cake. There's my answer. One meal. Okay, got it all. Am I giving
So-
this up for...
For games?
Go ahead. Would I give it up for a game? No, just like Ryan, like I'll sacrifice these things. I can have some mid food for the rest of my life. If I can still play some good video games, I'll be happy. Some people, I know other people who get very excited and very, very happy about eating certain types of food. Like they look forward to it. They really get a lot of joy and experience from it. But like, I like it, but I don't love it. Kiku, let him one experience it. Then he has to give it all up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that was the thing I was thinking of too before Kiku chimed in. Like, I'm like, what are you doing to yourself? You're just making it worse for yourself by
set
lumping
yourself
them all
up for
together in
the
one
okey-doke.
experience. Because then you got to give them all up.
Take all the foods, as long as I get Xenoblade Chronicles 3, because that's better than the foods that I listed.
See, there you go. Ron, what about you, man?
Oof. If I had to feel, if I gotta pick a favorite one, it's gonna be Gumbo all day. I love Gumbo. It's fantastic. Oh God, I really do love it. But gaming is my thing, man. I mean, yeah. I need gaming in my life, so I would have to say goodbye to Gumbo. That would really hurt me though. I might cry over a couple of day period for that one. But yeah, gaming all day.
You'll just pour one out for the Gumbo. It'll be fine.
Yep, got no choice. I can't give my games up.
Yeah. All right, next up we got Matt Sawinski, who asks, what game would you retroactively give a steelbook or a collector's edition to that didn't get one? So, Matt, I have to go to you right away. You are the steelbook master, the master of all steelbooks. So I, of course, have to ask you with this question first. So what's one game that didn't get a steelbook or a collector's edition that need one?
Spider-Man Miles Morales. It is a crime that Sony launched that game with their PS5, no collector's edition. It is a crime. Like it bothers me so much, given how big the Spider-Man IP is, and I'm gonna say it. I like Miles Morales way better than the first Spider-Man game. Like, it is mind-blowing that I don't have a Miles Morales statue to go alongside it. Yes, I know Spider-Man 2, there's a big Venom one with two of them, but it's not the same. Like, it would have been so perfect to have another Miles Morales statue the same size as the Spider-Man statue from the
Well, how many
PS4
inches
game.
would that be?
As many inches as I need it to be. All right, I'll take all the inches of Miles Morales and any
Respectfully,
Spider-Man
of course,
statue.
though.
Oh, phrasing.
Respectfully.
Of course, respectfully. And then have a nice steelbook with it. Like, yeah, it blows my mind that they did not do even a deluxe edition, like nothing. Just here's your standard copy of Miles Morales. It's a crime, Sony. Go back and fix it. Jeez.
Yep. Ron, what about you, man?
It's a game that just released, Stellar Blade. There's no steelbook for that.
Thank you.
The reversible cover, that art on that is just beautiful. Why they did not make a steelbook for that, I do not know. I'm like, that was crazy. I can't understand. Anybody who has seen that art will understand that would have been perfect for a steelbook. That's a crime. That's a crime. Sony, once again, dropping the ball. Shift up. Shame on you.
I mean, that reversible art is so good.
It is. It is. It's crazy.
Sorry, we're the chat is, of course, now catching up with us about our Miles Morales talk and we're getting some comments.
Respectfully,
of course.
Always
I'm
respectfully.
here.
Always respectfully. Of course.
Of course. Who doesn't want a nice Miles Morales statue? Come on. All of us do.
Yeah.
Come on.
So
Just saying.
yeah, I mean, who doesn't? I mean, that was the whole thing with the Spider-Man 2 statue, though. Come on, like that. We of course love that. So
Locke does not believe you, man.
Of course. As for me, I'm going to go a little more old school because, these games, both these games I'm going to mention here, it came out back in 2014. My original answer was going to be Alien Isolation because I love the Alien series. Mm-hmm. I love Alien Isolation. It's one of my all-time favorite video games. There was no collector's edition until Limited Run Games came along and decided to actually make their own collector's edition for it a year ago. For the Switch version of it, Alien Isolation. But there was no collector's edition for the PlayStation 4 version of Alien Isolation, no steelbook. There could have been some really cool artwork with the alien and Amanda Ripley on the cover. But no, there was nothing like that. But the other one that came out the same year that hasn't got a retroactive collector's edition that I really would have wanted one is Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight would have had such a great collector's edition. Like you could have had like this awesome steelbook with the artwork of like Shovel Knight on the front with like the Knights of the like the round on the back, and then you could have like Shield Knight on there on like the artwork on the inside of the case, and then you could have had like this big plushie or this big statue of Shovel Knight. It could have been this whole thing because I love Shovel Knight, and I'm like, man, that's a game that I would have loved a collector's edition for, because it's one of those things where, there was a Kickstarter for Shovel Knight, and that's kind of how, people got into Shovel Knight in the first place or how it got made. But I wish they made like a tier of that Kickstarter, which they obviously would have left over to have some kind of physical collector's edition for it. Cause that would have been awesome, but no, alas, no steelbook, no collector's edition all these years later for Shovel Knight. And it makes me sad every time I think about it. So there's my answer. Also, sneakily, my real answer, Ron, Final Fantasy 13. It needs a collector's edition.
I'm surprised that they didn't have one, to be honest. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I stopped paying attention to that game once.
They had one for 13.2 and Lightning Returns, which I have both of those because of course I do. But not 13. Next up, we got CrocoKyle. For me, the game that I tried that I couldn't get into was Hollow Knight. I bounced off of it early as I found it too difficult when I first tried the game. Decided to give it another crack a little bit later, and I was hooked on it, and I 100%ed it. That and the Ori games kindled my love for the Metroidvania genre, and I can't wait for Silk Song to hopefully drop later this year. I guess we'll find out. We'll find out if Silk Song comes out.
Silk Song, people waiting on it. 2026.
Yeah. One day we'll see Silk Song.
February 31st.
I actually think I'm in the camp actually where I think it comes up this year.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I mean, it got rated by the Koreans rating board, which I think is like the telltale sign of a game actually coming out this year. So like, I'm pretty sure it's coming out this year, even though Jarden says that game doesn't exist. I think it exists.
It has to come out this year. It has to.
I don't know. People have been saying that for a minute now, so
True.
just hold on.
Year. Yeah, every year. It's got to be this year. It's got to be this year. This is the one. This is it.
Groundhog Day.
It's fine. If we keep saying this year is the year, it'll be the year, okay? But
eventually we'll be right.
Yeah. Next up, we got Solo, who says, I can tell you one that was a total change of heart for me. I was all in on the hype of Elden Ring without reading anything about it and just seeing how each other person was just buying it in store. I played the game initially 3 separate times and got shut down that I was so miserable to a point where I deleted the game from my PlayStation with an F-bomb towards it. However, despite disgust, it never really sits well with me that I back down from a challenge. So I watched a starter path on a random YouTube channel. After performing that route and getting a little more power to my name, I started to feel the mechanics and the enjoyment of the game. Now at level 425 and a platinum in the game, I think it's safe to say I love it. I think at that point, Solo, I think it's pretty safe to say that you enjoy Elden Ring. Also, that one's come out multiple times now, Ron. Elden Ring.
Hey, man. Like I said, it's a great game, but yeah, if you're not used to Souls games, that's going to be kind of a reality check for you on that. At least he went back to it, though. That's the good thing. And he platinumed it, which is not an easy thing. So, yeah, man. Power to him.
Maybe we'll get this story from Fulia when we finally get Fulia to play Elden Ring.
One day.
If she's having a hard time with God of War, man, I don't think Elden Ring's going to be for her.
I mean, she said she'd play it. You did hammer it home a bunch of times.
I don't recall her saying that she would give it a shot.
I remember this.
She didn't say no.
Yeah, she didn't say no.
We all know Koala.
I guess we'll find out. I mean, what's she going to play first, Elden Ring or Pepsi Man? What do you guys think?
Pepsi Man, because she's
Pepsi
into
Man.
it. Yeah.
Pepsi.
Yeah, actually, you're probably not wrong.
Yeah.
Pepsi Man.
Yeah.
All right. Last comment or response comes to us from Tim Paullin, who says, third time was the charm for Witcher 3, because there's a 3 in the title, and third time's the charm. I failed to even get to Skellige, the first 2 playthroughs. I'm so glad I gave it another shot or 2.
Yes, Witcher 3 is outstanding.
Excellent game.
That's another example of a game that everyone likes that I don't like.
Oh, really?
You don't like Witcher 3?
Nah,
Really?
it's the combat for me. I love the story in Witcher 3, but I just don't like it.
I mean, that seems to be the issue that everybody does have with is the combat, so I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got like 50. I gave it a good try. I got 50 hours into it and decided to put it down. I was like, yeah.
You tried it.
Yeah.
Tried it.
I legitimately tried, and we'll never go back to it. But there we go. That is all the show for the night. Before we go though, we gotta thank all of our patrons over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming, starting with our ultimate producers, Tony Baker from the Quest for Pixels podcast. You can check them out over at youtube.com/quest for Pixels today. That's the number 4, not 4 spelled out, FOUR. Jonathan Brown, the man behind the music on this podcast, as well as the Xbox Drive. You can check out the link tree to all of his music over at Purple Monkey Entertainment at linktr.ee/pme/JIB. Lee Navarro, the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team. You can check them out over at phoenixoverdrive.com, or maybe you swing on over to that Extra Life website. Maybe sign up for Team Phoenix Overdrive, and maybe we'll see you all in New York in November. We'll see. Wink, wink. And Cwagmire, who humbly reminds you that the best babes are, in fact, Xenobabes. Links to all of our ultimate producers can always be found in the description of our podcasts. Our platinum producers, Robby Bobby Miller, Smokin Joe, and Tim Paullin. And our gold members, Adam K, Anna, Awesome Dave 1337, BobLoblaw, Brad Moore, Brian Reese, Cecily Carrozza, CowboyDangerD, CrocoKyle, Dan and Luma, Dannohh, Emily O'Kelly, Yon32, Marcus O'Neill, Peje P, Shane Erickson, Tim Aulph, and Toxic. Huge thank you to all of our patrons over at patreon.com/carpoolgaming. If you want to hop in the car with us, head over there and choose the tier that's right for you. And now, Ron Plugs go.
Savoy Prime on PSN, Xbox, Steam, backlogged, and Savoy_Prime on Twitter.
Nice, nice. And Matt, where can people find you?
You can find me as Nagachaka on the Carpool Gaming Discord and on Twitter.
Nice, nice. As for me, you can find me on X at Ryan Turford. You also find us on X at Carpool Gaming, right here at youtube.com/Carpool Gaming. Of course, podcast services around the globe. So, for Ron and Matt, I'm Ryan. This has been the PlayStation Drive episode 147. Only 3 more episodes to episode 150, y'all. And we out. Good night, everybody.
Adios, friends. Thanks for checking out this week's episode of the PlayStation Drive. Now, before you drive off, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us at Carpool Gaming on socials. Don't forget to check out our awesome merch on carpoolgaming.com, and you can also support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/carpoolgaming, where you'll unlock all kinds of exclusive content. Links to everything are in the description.